Okay to walk away from jobs, but sometimes you got to do it, and it's something that I did have a hard time learning that. Like I wouldn't do everything, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, you know what we could do is I could talk about it in this first. I could talk about it in this first thing when we're breaking down material costs, permits, and contingencies.
Uh-huh.
I can say, we can start talking about that and be like, one thing we didn't mention in the prior episode is that, sometimes projects don't make sense, and it may make sense for somebody else, but not for you. And it's okay to walk away from projects, and that can be something that can really be a good tool.
You got to know when to fold them.
Learning when to walk away.
That's right.
Learning when to fold them.
Okay. All right. Cool. Hey, welcome back to the K-Cup. K-Cup episode 17. This is part 2 of the 5-part series, The Business of Being a Contractor. We hope you enjoyed part 1, talking about lead generation and client acquisition. Now we're going to get into project planning and preparation. And this is obviously a crucial part of, really making sure you not only close the deal all the way, get that door all the way closed, but also making sure that you set the project up for success in the planning and preparation stage. So let's go ahead and dive in, John, to part number 2 of project planning and preparation. And tell us again. I know that we have a great process for this, but go ahead and tell us what this process starts to look like when you're developing that working budget. We kind of touched base on it in the last episode, but we didn't drill in because obviously that's what this episode's about. So talk a little bit about developing that working budget, the key points around that.
Yeah, so I think where we're at in the process now is we've taken in a lead, we've qualified it, we've made sure that it's kind of a good fit. We've built some trust and rapport between us and the potential client, and probably even come really close to the point to start discussing contract and that kind of stuff. We put a high level budget out there.
Yes.
And so this is where we would actually come in and start working on that budget that I think in the last episode we kind of commented. We called it like a firm budget or something like that.
Yeah.
And at this point, we feel pretty confident this project's going to happen, and we think that the client feels the same way also. So at this point, we're actually, still probably working off of a sketch or at a minimum a floor plan, but we're bringing in our design team, we're bringing in our subcontractors, and we're putting together a good working budget that we can actually kind of kick this project off on.
Yeah.
And during that process, we're going to go through all the things that they need to know, from cost of the scope, from every type of work that needs to be done on the field, but also all permitting, all planning, all design.
Yeah.
We're putting everything in one full scope so that they can see and understand what the true cost is going to be.
That's right. So part of that, you'd mentioned, putting together the design team and all that. You had mentioned something earlier about when you're in that early stage of breaking down, like permitting, and you're going to the site and you're looking at the site and you're checking out zoning. You mentioned something about how you might, as you start to add those things up, it might not start making good sense. Could you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think and we probably could have hit on this a little bit in the episode before this, but sometimes projects don't make sense, and it's okay to walk away. As a contractor, you never want to do that. I know I've struggled with having to tell people no, and not. I mean, I just want to try to do the job.
Yeah.
Sometimes the job, it may still make sense for the client, but it don't make sense for us.
Yes.
And you can say no, and that can be a very empowering tool to be able to say no and to walk away from something at first when you realize it's probably not a good fit in the beginning. Because if you already kind of recognize that, but you continue to dig and you continue to work, you continue to spend a bunch of time, you continue to bring people in together, and then at the end of the day it don't happen, you really cost yourself a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
So it's okay to walk away if the job's not a good fit. So yeah, no, that's something to definitely consider. And if it didn't come up in that prior meeting, it would certainly come up in this first phase of developing the cost
Exactly.
and truly, where the project's going to end up.
Yeah, because now you're really getting down to the nitty gritty, and you're rolling up your sleeves, and you're starting to request a real show of commitment on the part of the client at this point. So they got to pass the sniff test, so to speak. And if I just think you probably, like you said, you need to trust your gut, and if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't, and don't dig a hole for yourself.
Right.
Now, the other thing on this first step of this phase of project planning and preparation is a thing called value engineering. Could you explain that to those listening that may not really understand, how that plays a part in your putting this preliminary plan together and getting your budget, nailed down?
Yeah. So typically, we want to give the client exactly what they want. So they come in, they tell us what they want. We get it, in some form of design, whether it's a full set of plans or just early on planning.
Yeah,
And
concept.
we try to, we try to bid it and quote it, I guess, exactly the way they hope to see it and exactly the way they want it to end.
Yeah.
But if in that, if in that conversation it becomes that, the budget's much higher than they want to spend or than the money they have, then we start to explore options to reduce that price.
Yes.
And that's where the value engineering comes in. We start looking at things like, okay, I know you want, I don't know, factory finished 8-foot doors that are super nice, but can we still get what you want? Can we still have this thing function in the way you want with a cheaper door that's maybe something that's finished in the field, and maybe it's just a typical 3070 door in lieu of a big tall 9 or 10-foot door.
Yeah.
And we could value engineer many scopes of the work in that similar fashion.
Yeah.
Your lights are okay. We got some really nice high-end lights, but
Yeah.
do clients even come here a lot? Is this something that we could get a functional light that still serves a purpose and don't look as good, but it's just a neat something? And we can do this for every scope of the project, really. Ceilings, floors, cabinetry,
So there's flex in every scope.
Yeah, you could value engineer almost everything on the project, just depending on the need. I think the need and the want is where really you can start to kind of engineer some things, value engineer some things.
Yeah, a lot of the cost seems to be in the finishes. It costs the same to frame any box.
Right.
It's going to cost the same. What changes the cost per square foot of a box is how you finish it out.
Exactly.
So yeah, like you're saying, all those different finishes from exterior to interior, and all those things. So value engineering, it what it allows you to do is not just throw your hands up and say, "Oh well, sorry, we couldn't come to terms." When you present a budget and the project owner says, "Well, this is just too much," it gives you another option to go back and dig a little deeper and maybe still put this project together and make everybody happy. So, all right, cool. So let's talk about contracts now. You've put this budget together. It's getting pretty serious now. The budget's been nailed down. You've gone through design enough to be able to have the design be informed by the budget. Where if you had to make some adjustments and value engineer some stuff, you've done that. And let's say that you've got all that worked out with the owner and the design team, and everybody's on the same page. So now it's time to make this a thing.
Yeah. So we would kind of put a bow on that by sending out a proposal that explains everything you just talked about. What's the design cost of the project? What's the construction cost of the project? What are the obligations? As a contractor, what are we giving them in all these items? So we'd have a very designed or very detailed proposal before moving into this contract phase.
Yeah. Now, part of this contract phase, I would imagine you'd want to address things like the procedure for change orders and what about lien waivers?
Yeah, I didn't know you was asking this question. I maybe could have brought a contract with us, but in the contract, obviously we want to have all the specifics concerning the contract, the amount of the contract, how payments are going to be made, the obligations of each party, what information should the owner be providing to us.
Yeah.
We want to give them timelines on when payment will, when will payment be made? What kind of time do they have
what
to
triggers
do that?
that?
Yes. And we'll provide a schedule of values, that's the payments are based off of this. And then we will address, insurance requirements for us if, and there's times where we ask, the owner to provide builder's risk insurance or what other policy they may want. All that'll be very clear in the contract.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do have a standard contract here that kind of spells all this out for us already, and just makes a consistent experience, kind of like we've talked about with other things. And then as far as lien waivers and stuff like that, we explain all that and how it works in the contract. And that's a very important aspect of our business that gives us some protection, gives the owner some protection, that just kind of lets us know that our subs are staying on top of everything that they're supposed to stay on top of.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's spelled out in the contract very, very clearly, and that's a big part of just making sure you sit down, because that can be an overwhelming document for an owner that's never seen that. It can. I mean, I've literally had people say, "Man, do you have something shorter that we can just sign?" And,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of important stuff in there that's really easy to explain.
Yeah.
It's kind of overwhelming on paper, but at the end of the day, if you sit down and just like everything else we've talked about, if you clearly communicate what that contract means and how it protects both parties, then they're almost always willing and actually happy to sign it at that point once they have some understanding of what it entails.
Exactly. Something that we can make clear to clients is that we don't want the contract to be any longer than it needs to be either. But a lot of times the legalese that's included in those contracts is there because it addresses something that became a thing at one point.
Right.
A thing enough to where even keeping a contract to its bare minimum would require you having that in there, because it's something that's occurred enough in the industry where everybody needs to be protected for it. And like you said, it not only protects you, but by having it in there, it protects the client as well from really ever having that situation develop.
Yeah. So. And I mean, you asked about the lien waivers. I mean, that shows an area that we protected them. Change orders, we do spell out a specific manner on how change orders will be addressed. That way they can feel confident going into the project that if something does arise, that we're not just putting this high price on it, that they're going to just get drug over the coals. So that gives them confidence in seeing that, that verbiage. We also talk about in our contracts, what happens in the event of a dispute if we are not on the same page. Like we agree, firsthand before the project starts how we're going to handle that.
Yeah.
So all that really builds confidence with the owner that we're trying to do things the right way.
That's right. Yeah. They figure out pretty quick that the contract isn't doesn't contain just a bunch of language that just protects you and leaves them twisted in the wind. It really is just a fair legal agreement because you want to do the right thing, but you, at the same time, don't want to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without being said too, but obviously we always give them a draft copy of this contract, and they're more than welcome to seek their counsel and see, if there's anything that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Almost always our contracts end up pretty fair, and we don't get a lot of comments back. So
yeah, it seems that way.
But yeah, we always give them that opportunity. Hey guys, John Kelly here, founder, CEO, Kelly Construction Group. Like I just wanted to say, we appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast. We try to put some good information out there. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. We're going to continue to do it. Please like and subscribe. Let us know if there's anything you guys want to hear about. Feel free to leave some comments. Also wanted to let you guys know we're putting together a mastermind class or a workshop on commercial development. We're looking to have a few speakers in the area. We're going to have somebody from a financial institution, architects, engineer. We'll be there speaking as well. We'll end that with a question and answer session, give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions to all the professionals that take part in it. So we're going to leave a link in the description of the show that you guys can fill out just to gauge some interest. We're not going to reach out to you. We're not going to bug you. We just simply want to know what the interest level is, and would love to have you guys attend. So look for that link, fill it out, and again, we appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast, and hopefully you'll keep doing so. Have a great day, guys.
Great. All right. Well, let's move on to the third part of this project planning and preparation. We've touched on design and all that, the preliminary stages of it, and I know in some of our projects that we do, particularly in the private work, we're able sometimes to, as we're cultivating or going through that first initial consultation with a client, a potential client, we might do some preliminary drawings ourselves. Sometimes you're skilled in CAD. We have uh, other people at our disposal that can throw together some preliminary elevations, floor plan, things like that. But let's say that and now this is pretty involved. Let's say it's not your typical white box build out, that this is like, say, new construction, and maybe it's several $1,000,000 or so, and so there's some serious design aspect to it. Talk about design team assembly and some of the aspects, like our this one sheet that we have that we're going by talks about for our process.
Yeah, I mean, as far as bringing in an architect and that kind of thing, I mean, to your point, depending on the scale of the project, we're pretty capable of coming in here, drawing up a floor plan, uh, getting something that can, the owner can see some progress and they can feel like we're making some ground.
Yeah.
Can start to lay out, their project and move stuff around and get it kind of where they want it. But I do like to bring in an architect fairly early. I mean, I like, they do see things that we don't see. They do have ideas that we don't have.
Yeah.
It's good to get good feedback, from somebody who's invested in that field.
Yeah.
So if it's a serious project and something that is going to move forward, we bring in the architect probably in the second meeting or something,
Yeah.
and kind of start introducing those guys as a part of the team and somebody that's going to be involved.
Yeah.
And there's we have agreements with a couple of architects, and it's a little different than them just going to hire their own architect. There's benefits to working through us and working with the architect in conjunction as a team.
Yeah.
We've already outlined a lot of those in different shows, and I'm sure we'll hit on all that again.
Yeah.
But they can be valuable and a good part of the team for sure.
Yeah. So how do you go about setting up expectations for communications when we have this team assembled? I know, like with the public bid sector, a lot of times it's the architect that's dealing directly with the client. And in this situation, we like to be in the driver's seat, more of a design build, framework that we like to work with. And so what expectations do you set about communication between the owner, the architect, and us as the GC?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to be privy to all the information that's being communicated. We typically set up a group email, between us, the designer, and the owner, and everybody kind of collaborates as a team. I know it's real critical in these other, public bid type things, or even some of the low bid or invited bid type situations to really kind of follow the chain of command. You don't want subs jumping ahead talking to the architects or the engineers, and because it can really misconstrue things where a sub feels like they got some information that they needed to do something, and maybe that was from an engineer, architect, or the general didn't even know. The sub performs the work, and then it's just a mess. So it's really important to keep that chain of command. Just as important so in this side of it. However, I feel like it can be done in a group. I feel like that it's okay for the architect to communicate as long as everybody's looped in on that communication and everybody understands what's going on. Not as formal, but still important that everybody knows what's happening and that everybody's looped in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question real good there, but that's kind of the way I see it. I think that I think it's okay as a team for us all to communicate in one space, and it don't have to be linear. It can be back and forth, as long as it's happening in a manner that we all kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, and that would strictly be with between yourself and the design team and the owner itself. Like you said, you wouldn't want every person that's performing work on the project to be
no. I mean, once the project started to construction, it would kind of go back to the typical chain of command, if you will.
Yeah.
However, I mean, we would kind of be, I guess, the end of that chain of command at
Yeah.
that point
In the
in
first
our
position.
model. Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. And that just by setting those expectations, like you said, you have that conversation early on it'd be in this phase, in the preparation and planning phase, that you'd have this very clear conversation about how communication is going to be,
Yeah.
what that process is going to be like, and how it's going to flow.
Well,
So
too, in this model too, the architect is. I mean, I'm not going to say the architect's not a player once construction starts, because we still want to give our architects an opportunity to visit the job site to make sure that things are going, the way they designed it and that kind of thing.
sure.
But we're not looking for them to administrate the contract in any way. Neither is the owner.
Yeah.
So so at that point, it really becomes direct communication between subcontractors, our staff, and then the owner.
Yeah.
And if there's questions or whatever, then yeah, we want to go to the architect and get clarity. But I feel like in these projects, we've typically worked through those details pretty good.
Yeah.
And outside of the architect coming to inspect the site a couple of times just to make sure that things are the way they want to do, the way they like to see it.
Yeah.
They're kind of out of the daily communication of a project at that point.
Yeah, they become more of almost a consultant at that point. And like you said, it's because we have early access to them through the design phase while we're budgeting. So we know a lot more by the time you get to a contract about the project than you ever would with, like the public bid sector, where, yeah, you might go through the spec and all that to get, the estimate together, but you still don't really have that intimate knowledge of the project. You haven't had the time
Right.
to talk about how it's going to unfold with the design team and imagine it being built, and go through all those things that you're able to do
Right.
when you're in that mode.
Yeah.
So
Well, you kind of have to discover those projects through the plans and through the specs. You've never seen it, and then all of a sudden you get it. Well, in these projects, you create it, so you
yeah, you're
kind of
part
at
of
this
that.
point you already know and understand all of these things.
Yeah, it's way more ingrained in your whole thought process. So, and that's what we love about private type work. So anyways, that's why we want to pursue more of that. So the one last little point there that it kind of brings out is just talking about making sure that you've synced your budget with the design. And I know we've touched on this before, but maybe you could just highlight again the benefit of being able to get to do a project like this, how that, having the design and the budget happen together, to coincide at the same time, how that's a benefit to everybody involved, including, the project owner.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're working off of a budget that the owner's already approved, are already fairly familiar with and feels comfortable with.
Yeah.
And we're working back and forth with the designer or the architect at this point.
Yeah.
It may be to the point where he's calling saying, "Hey, we got this much square footage. We're going to do, how do you want to do it? Do we need
Yeah.
to stick? Do we need to stick build it? Do we need to do, pre-engineered metal building? What makes more sense with the budget?"
Yeah.
And we going back and forth in that type of stuff as this project's being designed, so that we can make sure we hit the number.
Yeah.
In lieu of just having the architect design something without any communication from a builder.
Yeah.
To find out that it ends up way over budget, and then
Yeah.
there's more costs incurred with redesign after a contractor's had time to put a proposal together or a budget on it.
Yeah. Not only is there's cost associated with that, but the time is really probably one of the biggest factors, because everybody is so busy, and when you go to enter into a undertaking like this, time becomes super valuable. So
Right.
if you're losing it over something like that, it's not great.
Right.
But all right, well, that's great, man. I think we've covered some highlights and some key points that would help any of y'all out there wanting to be a contractor. This is like preliminary planning for preparing for a project, stuff that you'd want to consider. And again, there's corresponding articles on LinkedIn to all these 5 parts, so you can go there and get more detail, get the outline for these parts, and you can check the show notes on YouTube side of things, and get the chapters for all the different points that we've touched on here, so you can get clarity if you need to listen to something over again. But we hope you enjoyed part 2 of the 5-part series. of the business of being a contractor. And we're going to be back again soon with part 3. So come back and check us out. And thanks for being here at the K Cup. Please like, follow, subscribe, comment, all the above. We love to have your feedback, but we also, they say it's 70% of those who actually listen to podcasts on YouTube are not subscribed to the podcasts that they watch, even if they watch regularly. So please just take, I think it's like 3 seconds, and just press that subscribe button, and it'll really help us continue to see the value of bringing this information to you and making shows in the future. So thanks for being here. Any parting words, John?
No, I mean, hopefully we gave some good information. I mean, I think that, we try to put stuff out there that can be useful. We try to put stuff out there that we've learned through the years. So
yeah,
hopefully we are providing value, and if we are, we'd love to hear so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely just having somebody who, you're giving insight, and you might not see that it's hugely valuable to you because it's something that's so common and normal to you. But some of those insights only come at the end of years of experience. So I'm sure that some of those nuggets have been shared this episode, like all the other episodes, and that's really the real value. So anyways, we hope you got some of those nuggets and that value. Come back and see us again for part 3. Take care.
Cut.